Hi everybody! In this video I'm not gonna show races, tracks, modes, beautiful cars, etc. Even though I think I choose a beautiful car for this video, which is the Cooper Maserati 1967 Formula 1. Here we are in Kyalami, and before everything else I wanna point out, look at the colors of the rectangles on the upper left of the screen. They are turning from blue to green. Okay, most people have guessed that it's the tire temperature range, but before that, just let me point out that despite my scarce professional level, I piled up a good number of gaming hours, of racing hours here. So I think I've got something to tell, especially to newbies and for anyone interested in general, about how to make racing less frustrating, more effective and more fun as a consequence. So the point is, I flooded the screen with windows and head-up displays. Why this? Okay, forget the rear view mirror. If you just wanna do without it because it's more beautiful, toggle it in the replay. Of course, the GPS map, something that I don't think they had in 1967. However, it's useful especially when you meet a new circuit and you got to get used to point brakes, braking points, sorry, and where to accelerate, etc., and to remember the turns. Of course, on the right there is the timetable to know where opponents are and to check your lap times. But the most important ones are, well, let's start from the upper left corner. As I mentioned before, it's the box about the tires. Okay, and it's intuitive that green means best grip. When they're blue they are cold, but they can turn to orange or red, and in this case they lose performance, they lose grip, because they are overheated. Talking about temperature, we also see that there's a core temperature indication, which is different from the outer surface of the tire, because it takes much longer and it affects the tire pressure. You can see that there's another small number that changes color in order to show if the tire pressure is fine or excess or too low. You can also guess if you are properly using all the rubber on your tire by the temperature differences between the outer, medium or inner side of the tire. You have all the indications for all the tires. You can see those black numbers on a white background. Of course, if the differences are big, you're not exploiting your tire as good as possible, so you should adjust the camber values and the pressure values of the tires to improve the performance. This goes along with the kind of track you are racing on. For example, if you have many wide, fast turns and few straights and a few long brakings, you may find better performance in adding more camber, and you will see that the temperatures will be more leveled. But if you add a lot of camber on tracks with sharp corners and long straights, you will notice that the tire will not work as expected, especially in brakings, and they will lose traction out of turns. And the gain you will have in the middle of the turn will be a little bit wasted. Okay, last thing to say, there are 4 small columns aside the colored rectangle. They are colored as well. When they are green, it means that the wear of the the tire is not bad and they will give you good grip. While they are turning to yellow and red, they will lose grip. And the loss of performance, I can point out, it's not strictly related to how much worn is the thickness of the rubber. In fact, those four small columns will tend to drop gradually while the surface of the rubber is getting erased, is getting left on the tarmac, but you must be careful both to the amount of rubber left and to the color of the column, because it talks about the grip. Let's jump to the bottom of the screen. It's like having one more dashboard. So you've got a fuel level, throttle, the gear you are using, because not all cars show it, and if you are paddle shifters aside the steering wheel, you may forget what gear you are in. The speed, of course, the lap time, sorry. Okay, this goes without saying, but now let's come to the last two, and maybe more important, together with the tire box, that are the delta box on the right, just where my right hand is shown here now, because this one will help you really a lot to improve lap times. As I mentioned before, the kind of tracks you may meet are different, and according to how corners are shaped and connected together by different straights, you may adjust the driving style in order to have different results. Okay, so the red color means you are slower than you were in the same position in the best lap you recorded in that session. So in this case you saw it became red, so it means that I hit the brake later, but you notice that it turned to green right after, so I made a worse entrance in the turn, but a better exit, and the amount of time saved is shown just below, pardon. So you notice that I had a good gain in that area. Well, in this case I made all the right-hander slower than I could, slower than I made in a previous lap, and I lost. In this case I'm regaining, etc., and so on. So it's very useful to adjust braking points, to guess where you can start to get back on the throttle pedal and accelerate, and to also adjust the trajectory, so you may decide, as I mentioned before, whether it's better to brake later and aim straight to the turn apex, do the turn around the apex at a very slow speed, but accelerate as early as possible to get much more speed on the consequent straight. Or vice versa, brake early, make the whole turn as fast as possible. This is useful in very long turns, for example, and go back gaining time in that situation, but then you got to accelerate later. So you can adjust the racing line, the braking points, accelerating points, and especially rewatching the replays like I'm doing really now. It's very useful to improve the lap times, and also to adjust strategies once you are in the race, to understand if it's good to attack in a certain way rather than another, or defend eventually. Last box is the one in the middle and in the most disturbing place from the aesthetic point of view, but there's a reason why that box is there. Okay, of course it's intuitive how this box is showing the position of the pedals. And someone may ask me, are you mad? You don't know where your feet are? Yeah, I know where my feet want to be, or where I want to put my feet, but where are they exactly, because the simulator just doesn't read my intention. They don't read my deed. They read the number that the position of the pedal is saying. So with that box really close to where I used to look while driving, with the corner of my eye, without moving my eyes from where I must keep them while driving, I can guess, for example, as how much I'm depressing the brake pedal, which is the most important one in this case, because if I brake it too strong, I tend to lock up the wheels, and if I'm not braking strong enough, it means that I'm braking too early and I'm wasting precious time. So after the first 2 or 3 brakings, and after the tires are in temperature, I can start to guess where that red column must be when I'm braking. For example, here on the end of the straight, braking hard and then raising slightly the pedal, because otherwise the tires are gonna lock. This turns out to make best braking ever. Also, the throttle pedal is useful. It's harder to keep an eye on it while driving, because in the most delicate part of the most delicate, I mean, the harder part of the turn, which is the exit, you must be careful with that pedal not to enter oversteering. I told that this mode was just something that I liked, but in this case I choose this because these cars tend very easily to oversteering. So that column, you may notice that it's not likely to get to full throttle until the turn is over or almost over. So that position is very important. If you can, keep an eye on it while racing, but it's very useful on replays. While you watching the replay, you can check if you had too much oversteering because you exceeded with it, and then correct for the next laps. Of course, on the left side there is a blue column that talks about the clutch. I think it's little relevant, even though it may be useful on replays to check if something that didn't go as expected with the clutch was responsible of oversteering while shifting down, for example. And the gray column on the right, to be honest, I didn't check exactly what it means, but judging by how it changes while driving, it should be related to the grip of the tire and about how much either side acceleration or grip is being exploited about the tire. Okay, people, I think I've said everything, and maybe I've said too much. Hope it's been useful. Hope you can do something with the ideas I gave you. Either yes or not, please let me know in the comments, and feel free to share to everyone to improve racing performance and satisfaction, and do without the frustration of making too many mistakes and see other players going faster than you. Okay, just exit on the grass. Goodbye, thanks for watching.